Hello. This tweet reminded me of something, though it's not a tweet, is it? This X reminded me of something. So I'll start with this, but I'm going off on a riff after a certain time, the YouTube grace period. Meet Justice Jonathan Rose, and here we have Justice Jonathan Rose looking stern and serious. The judge who recently denied a request to release transcripts from a key grooming gang trial, arguing that doing so would be contrary to public interest. That got me thinking, why would a judge not release documents of testimony, I suppose, because he reckoned that was not in the interest of the public. If a lot of young teenagers were being attacked, you'd think that would be in the public interest for the public to know about it, wouldn't you? The request submitted by Open Justice sought access to the full transcript from a 2016 trial at Bradford Crown Court. That's nearly 10 years ago, where 12 men were convicted of exploiting a teenage girl in Keighley. It says here over 8 years ago. Well, it's more than that, unless this is a very old tweet. No, I don't think it is. Anyway, it says here Bradford has long been a hotspot for some of the country's most insidious cases. Underage girls were abused while living in children's care homes, a place you'd expect to find not just protection but overprotection. Well, here you can have a look at this, which I can't read because we're still before the 2-minute cut-off point. Rose further justified the refusal, claiming the context of the public debate now taking place in general concerning cases such as this, which are said to be part of a currency of offending in this city and elsewhere. I don't understand that. Open Justice's head, Adam Wren, said crucial information has been censored and the release of court proceedings has a clear public interest element. And the question begs, how in the hell are we supposed to prevent this from happening again if we can't see the details of what happened in the first place? And this is dated the 12th of April 2025. All right, I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble and Minds, and I'm on BitChute if you happen to be outside the United Kingdom. If you're in the United Kingdom and have a VPN, that doesn't apply to you. So I started to think about the grooming gangs. I'm going to change the name in a minute. I'm just giving myself a bit more time. The behaviour of the grooming gangs, the overriding characteristic, which I'm assuming that the good justice, I have an idea, I'm just guessing, that he's not releasing part of the testimony because of the sort of sadistic sexual violence that those grooming gangs seem to display. And I suspect that is why Justice Rose banned its publication. But it put me in mind of the sort of sexual violence of which Hamas was so proud in their invasion of Israel on October the 7th, 2023. And I wondered if the two might be related in some way. Even more, I wondered whether the sort of people celebrating the Hamas atrocities in those weekly demonstrations we could see in our major and not so major towns almost every Saturday for years, well, it's still going on, I wondered if there was some sort of link between those demonstrations and the attitude the elite have to the grooming or the rape gangs. Because it seems to me that the sort of people who could be taking quiet, or maybe not so quiet, satisfaction in the degradation of the white working classes, girls within our own shores, seem to be the same sort of people who would be out demonstrating in support of Hamas. Now, the thing about Hamas is that it was psychological warfare. It was targeting a collective identity of a nation or a community. And it just struck me this morning when I saw this tweet that that's what was going on with the grooming gang operations. Okay, they weren't so upfront about it. You know, it was going on covertly. And Hamas were very ostentatious in how they were acting. But in both cases, the actions, what they were doing was attacking the basis of both the societies that they attacked. In the case of the working class girls, it was the communal cohesiveness of the working class white population and a sort of general trust in government and the law. Yeah, however much the working class people might have despised the police, the general idea was that if you reported a rape, they'd do something about it. But that's all gone, hasn't it? And in the case of Israel, it was an attack as much on the concept of Israel as a nation that can protect its citizens as anything else. After all, Israel was set up as a nation for the purpose of offering refuge to persecuted Jews. One of the most repeated slogans after World War II was "never again." You hear that all the time, don't you? Well, it did happen again. And that rocked, I suppose, as far as I can make out, it's completely rocked Israeli society's trust in government, any sort of government. And now back to the grooming gangs. In both cases, well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be calling them grooming gangs now. They're rape gangs, weren't they? But in both cases, the actions of the perpetrators, you can see them as a sort of deliberate social sabotage with sex thrown in as a bonus. And also because it was in both cases, in the cases of the rape gangs and the Hamas thing, it was a communal activity. So it was a way of drawing the comrades in arms together, especially with the rape gangs here in Britain. Because once the men were participating in this, it would be difficult for them to tell anyone about it without implicating themselves. So I thought, is it really a coincidence that the people celebrating the rape of Israel are also the people denying any wrongdoing in the rape of white working class girls in the UK? Obviously, many of those participants in the demonstrations here in Britain, they're Muslims. They will stick to the Muslim line espoused by a certain type of Muslim. But there are a substantial number of white Brits as well supporting them, especially university students. And I have a feeling that they're the sort of people who feel about as sympathetic to the working class as they do to Israelis. It wouldn't surprise me if somehow they're in their heads in the same bracket. And perhaps it's for this reason that Justice Jonathan Rose, is keeping things under wraps, or perhaps being instructed to do so. Perhaps there is some connection with the two movements. It could be an actual connection. It could be an actual connection, but it's more likely, in my opinion, to be an ideological connection. And if we connect the dots between the ideology followed by a bunch of Pakistani peasants who happen to be living in depressed parts of the United Kingdom and a bunch of Nazis living in the Arab world, if there's a philosophical connection with the imams and the preachers and that sort of thing, well, that might rock a few political boats if this connection was drawn, might it not? Especially as we've seen our king, at the time our Prince of Wales, accepting, a bag full of money from some Arab potentate. I forget which one, but there he was sitting in this nice room, and there's this potentate, and I don't know whether he was a prince or a foreign minister or whatever, and this guy just sort of gave him a plastic bag full of money, as far as I remember, which one of his secretaries took it because, of course, Prince Charles doesn't deal with things like that. It was a suitcase full of money, I don't remember. Shocking, though. It was thoroughly shocking and demeaning. So, of course, I have to add that there are Muslims like Raja Miah who want nothing to do with the actions of some of his co-religionists. But then he is a patriotic Brit who happens to be a Muslim. And perhaps this is what separates him from the demonstrators, because many of them are not patriotic Brits. Some of them aren't Brits at all. They're certainly not patriotic. And they are interested in the destruction of British society, which is exactly what Hamas was doing, trying to destroy Israeli society. And it strikes me that there's too much of a coincidence for this to be completely a coincidence. I can't see how the dots are connected up, but maybe there's something in the lack of communication from people like Mr. Justice Rose that might have offered a clue. I don't know. Sooner or later, I suppose it will all come out. Okay, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.